Hello and welcome to the Talking Tomato channel. We actually are creating this channel to take part in the new era of the globally unified payments, meaning we will talk about the blockchain and Web3 applications and more about that because actually this will take part in shaping our future. So before we dig into the digital payments, let's talk more about what we are currently living at our societies now. So now societies are barely using cash and governments as well pushing towards cashless societies and so on. So we perform every transaction either online or offline with just our cards. If you want to go shopping or go buy whatever, you just leave any cash or actually just go with your card. So to understand what actually happens between the parties that takes the money from your bank to the relevant party, which would be the merchant, we need to understand a couple of concepts. Let's first agree that we will have three parties at this transaction. The first party is the acquirer bank, which would be the merchant's bank, the merchant you buy from. The second party is the network or the card network, which at most cases or most commonly used Visa or MasterCard. And the third party is your or my issuer bank, the bank who issued me this card I'm paying with to buy something. The merchant will take my card and swipe it to the Visa or the POS machine. What happens next? Card network, like as we said, the Visa or MasterCard, identify my card and go to the issuer bank and see if I have funds or not to check either this transaction would be accepted or denied. And after the approval, of course, in case I have funds, the network replies back to the acquirer bank with this response. So the transaction is processed and the payment is done. Of course, we don't feel this hassle because it happens like less than a couple of seconds, so we don't feel this at all. But have we thought about the idea there is actually moving money between my bank and the acquirer bank? The answer would be no, they don't physically move money, or at least instantly they do not do that. So what happens is there is a ledger or something like a note that stores the transactions with its details, like for example with the date and the transaction amount, with my ID or with my card that I paid X amount from the store to another one. So this would apply to any transaction happen online. So at this ledger we will find all transactions are stored with their details, because there won't be actually physical exchange of the money between the two banks. If we've thought about it, like my bank will take the money and move it to the merchant or the acquirer bank, no, that's not the case. Yes, at some point they settle and see if this bank owes this one, they settle the money together. But at the daily transactions, no, that does not happen. So to recap things, we will have the three parties and everything is stored at a ledger that has everything about the transactions. So this what actually happens nowadays when we move money or when we pay from account to another account. And the concept is same when we transfer money from our accounts to anyone's account. So if I want to send my friend money, either it's from my same bank or another bank, these transactions are logged at this ledger. So no physical money are moved instantly, as we said. So at some point they settle, but not instantly as we perform the transactions. So we have all this digitized process that we are already living nowadays, and no actual money moving, and we don't actually hold cash at our hands, we just go with a card. So this is the digitization we already live in. And now since we already know that we have centralized digital payments, so definitely we're having the decentralized digital payments. And that will take us to talk about the blockchain. But first of all, let's take a moment and know what is the blockchain term means. The blockchain simply means set of computers or nodes that are connected together. That's why these computers are chained, so it's a blockchain because every computer or node represents a block which will hold a ledger, the ledger we were talking about at the centralized digital apps. So it's the same concept, but in the blockchain we have several copies of this ledger at multiple nodes or blocks in a set of chain. So when we say decentralized digital payments, we mean this blockchain. And why do we call it as decentralized? Because the blockchain runs all over the world, over anyone's computer. Like if I have a computer that I can make it be a part of the blockchain, so I will be a contributor at the chain from my country, and whoever at their country could have the same idea and having a computer that could be a part of this blockchain. So it is decentralized, and the logged transactions are stored at these computers in a worldwide manner. So that's why it's called decentralized, because if I'm performing a transaction on the blockchain, I will not know which node or which computer at which country has done this transaction. That clarifies the idea of the chain and the decentralized. So after having a basic idea about what the blockchain is, so let's talk about the famous part about the blockchain, which is the Bitcoin. The Bitcoin, as from its name, it's a coin, like a currency, but in a digital way that runs on the blockchain. Who invented this blockchain? They call themselves, or he or she, as Satoshi Nakamoto, but we do not know either they are a group or someone. Actually, we don't know. But the conclusion is Satoshi Nakamoto, the one or ones, invented this Bitcoin. And we're speaking about the Bitcoin because it is the most famous coin like all over the world, and the first invented coin back in 2009. So it is the most commonly used. Even we sometimes refer to the blockchain with the Bitcoin, but now we have differentiated between the blockchain concept and the concept of having chain nodes together, and knowing that there are thousands of currencies and the Bitcoin is the famous one among them all. But as we said, we're having a lot, like Ethereum comes the next after Bitcoin, Ripple, and maybe Polygon, and a lot of blockchains. But it's really important to identify or know that every blockchain has a different technology or a concept that controls the logic behind the how this blockchain works. But for now, let's focus on having the blockchain and having the coin like the Bitcoin. After we have talked about the centralized digital payments and transactions and the decentralized digital payments or transactions, I want to highlight the differences between two terms like the fiat currencies and the cryptocurrencies. And it may seem so obvious from their names, like the cryptocurrencies are the digital coins like the Bitcoin or whatever coin is running over the blockchain, while the fiat currencies are our real money or our real currencies that we have in this world, like US dollars, for example. Speaking from this, we can move forward and talk about advantages of having or relying on the blockchain more and more. Cryptocurrencies will always avoid the inflation. That's simply because they are more into programmatic coins or programmatic money. For example, the Bitcoin is only having 21 million Bitcoins, and that means under any circumstances we won't have any newborn or created Bitcoin. So the Bitcoin will keep its value, and the value will be changing from the supply and demand, but the basic idea is it will not be affected with any inflation. And this concept will be applied over any coin or token runs over the blockchain for any cryptocurrency. And that was the first part. The other part is the security, and by the security I mean totally the decentralized transaction, meaning any transaction over the blockchain is computed and performed over one of the nodes over the blockchain network, which is all over the world, and this network is globally and all over the world. Speaking from this, I want to highlight that cryptocurrencies will cross the barrier of having a specific currency for each country. For example, if I'm traveling to another country, I will need to exchange money. You need to hold some cash with this currency, and like anything that we are currently doing when we're traveling to any other country. So with relying on the cryptocurrency, we will cross the barrier of having specific currency for each country. And this actually one of the main interesting use cases or business cases about the cryptocurrencies is that we are heading to have a globally unified payment, whatever the currency would be. But the main concept about relying on a digital or cryptocurrency over the blockchain will make our life easier. So you pay for whomever and wherever, even either you have traveled so you can pay using these cryptocurrencies, or if I want to exchange money with one of my friends at any other country, so I don't need to do the conversion part. So this will really make our world act as one, and this will come with huge benefits. So that was the main business case I wanted to highlight that we might reach on the future. Apart from the security and being unified with one global payment method, the blockchain and the cryptocurrencies guarantees you the security. Like now, banks are controlling the ledger. It might happen that this ledger might have a mistake or something. I know it's rare and it doesn't have the highest probability, but it could happen, and maybe whatever thing happened that this bank might shut down or something. So using or relying on the cryptocurrencies will make you avoid this hassle and having the control over your money, because actually your money or your coins are not owned or controlled by any organization. They are distributed over the blockchain, which are distributed all over the world for whomever is participated in the blockchain. Now, I'm not saying that cryptocurrencies are the best or are the worst. The purpose of this channel is to clarify and simplify concepts from our real world, moving to the digital world and relying more on the blockchain as technology are emerging into our lives day by day more and more. So we need to be aware about different or new terms and technologies, and we always have the chance and the choice to choose. Either I select the cryptocurrencies or fiat or even mix between them. So we always have the choice to decide. After understanding the idea behind the decentralization and running blocks over the blockchain, we might ask ourselves, why does anyone could participate in the blockchain? The simple answer for this is mining. What does mining mean? Mining is a metaphor for the computational work is done over the network by a specific computer. As we have discussed earlier, that every transaction is stored at the ledger on the blockchain. So in order to identify that this transaction is legitimate to be added to the blockchain, we need a huge computational work to verify this transaction. And this actually what exactly the miners do at the blockchain. Any blockchain node needs to do a couple of huge and complex computational work to verify the transaction and add it to the blockchain. So to achieve this, you need to have a very advanced computers. So in the returns of this, when you verify the transaction, the network rewards you as a miner with percent about this computational work. After we have talked about the miners and knew they are rewarded with some fees in return of their computational work to verify the transaction happens on the network. The question now, from where do they get paid? And the answer is the gas fees. Gas fees, the term explains itself from its name. The gas fees is the fuel of the network to make the transaction be operated. And in other words, if I'm performing a transaction over the blockchain, I have to pay some extra fees. Why? Because the miners who are performing this transaction and verifying this transaction to be added to the ledger needs to be rewarded. And here it comes the concept of the gas fees. So gas fees are the fuel of the network to perform a transaction, and they are paid to the miners of the blockchain. Since we're speaking about the main terms about the blockchain, we have to trigger the differences between the coin, the native assets, and the token. And simply, the native assets are the crypto coin of the blockchain. For example, the blockchain of Bitcoin has a Bitcoin as a coin and as a native asset. So the native asset or the coin are the main coin of a particular blockchain. So you can trade or exchange money or do exchanges using this coin. On the other hand, tokens are the coins that are built on top of any blockchain. For example, I can create my token over Ethereum blockchain. I can make a token called Sarah that would be over this chain, but it will not be same as the native asset. The main point is having a main coin for each blockchain, and the token would be any token or coin we create on top of any existing blockchain. That was for the cryptocurrency coin versus the token. Here we reach to an interesting point, which is the stable coins. Stable coins are pegged to fiat currencies or gold or oil or whatever thing we link its or relate its value to this stable coin. And here we can refer to a business case scenario, like if I want to trade something with someone using fiat currency but in a crypto format. So in this case, I can rely on using one of these stable currencies which are pegged to equivalent fiat currencies. And I would say this would be a transition from fiat currencies to a total cryptocurrencies, like having a middle layer between the fiat currency and the stable coins, so we can perform our transactions using these coins. We will be posting small snippets and clips of this long format video into another channel, so make sure you go there and check the other channel. Make sure to stay tuned and subscribe to our channel, because we will help you get the benefits of this new emerging technology, so you have the chance to take part in making the world a better place for all of us.